What's up, guys? I'm going to do a video here for you real quick. This is involving harmless lies that some people tell, but once in a while you will encounter somebody that gets caught in certain little harmless lies. But for example, maybe a lot of us, even including me and maybe some of you guys, may have been working somewhere or whatever, and maybe the smallest thing you ever did is make a small exaggeration of how much money you're making. But say if you're already working in a place where they give you little raises maybe every year anyway, if you don't exaggerate too bad, by the time anybody finds out, you'll be pretty, close. But anyway, do you ever have any relatives, friends, say you're out there and you're actually outside of work, okay, and you're not working anywhere as it is, and a lot of people that you're not there, but because of the lies they tell too big, that they're just working the job like anybody else. For example, if they're a security guard or whatever, they tell such a big lie that dang well they're just a plain old security guard, but the lies that they overdo. Oh, I'm the shift supervisor and blah blah blah, and you'll get somebody, any kind of line of work, they're working maybe in a Walmart, to say they're a manager. Mostly men do this exaggeration, but I remember being in a workplace, and the only one time I ever heard of mostly women really doing it. I know they do, but the only very few ones that caught my ear, there was one that these women were talking about this other woman they know that they were just working some plain job at a store, and they lie into their relatives, which the person they're talking about happens to be one of their relatives, and they think just because they don't see each other in a long time and thinking people were born yesterday, and say like they don't know that they're working in some store or something, and they're telling everybody stories, really elaborate stories with dialogue too, like that they're an airline stewardess and shit. People be doing that shit too. But anyway, I remember I working at a place for a real long time. I think a few years into me working at this one place, there was a couple of new guys that came in, for work, that they were just starting the job, new guys. One of them came in, and then maybe a couple weeks, I don't remember, month, another guy comes in, okay. And so, to make a long story short, the one guy was the other guy's neighbor, and he didn't know the other guy was going to later on somehow get lucky enough to be doing job applications, trying to get a job, and he winds up in the same place where he's lying to his neighbor. Okay, so I had one of them situations there when the one guy was joking about it real witty, and then ended up being a little bit of a joke, even though, not to dehumanize the person, it was just a kind of a little witty joke that sticks with him ever since, nothing hateful. But for example, I'm going to call this a hypothetical situation that maybe if you guys in a workplace had a similar thing like this. Say you were working somewhere a real long time, and say, call these two guys, call the one John and one Billy, okay, for hypothetical reasons. Say, you get a new guy after you've been working somewhere for a while, and new guy comes in, John, pretty nice guy. He's nothing against him, he's really cool and all, a little bit of a storyteller too. He's always talking about extra exploits that he happened to been on, and once in a while maybe he was just an army reservist, but then he'll go around telling people he ran with a special forces unit and all that. But then, okay, this is John, right? But then, like, month later, Billy, another new guy named Billy comes in. And Billy was John's neighbor, okay, and it turned out that, John didn't know that some luck, Billy was going to be doing job applications and wind up in the same place. So anyway, and they were like neighbors and living on the same block. So And you find out from Billy that they talk, and John was already working there first, and he was bragging to Billy. It says, "Oh, I'm doing real well. I'm running an overhead crane for $30 an hour, making it real big technical stuff that was in the workplace that ain't even there." And so, and he's all joking about it, nothing hateful, just making little jokes. And he's telling you the story that, John was telling him this, these guys. And he goes like, "Oh yeah, he told me all this, and then I come in here and I found out that this is the same place he said he was working on an overhead crane, and then I'm coming in there ready to start my first day here, and I'm looking around like, where's the overhead crane? Yeah, we're packing crates and we're packing product. We have pallet jacks and we got this and that, but the closest thing there is an overhead crane. It's maybe this little thing that, say you got these little workstations and you're lifting up a product that might be a little bit heavy. Instead of two people picking it, you just pull it on over, but hang it on there, and then something with a little motor just lifts it up a little bit, and then you pull it over. It's like slide track on the ceiling, and lower it in a crate that's maybe about a crate big enough to put two people in, or a person, the size, wise. No big overhead crane like he made it look like, but anyway, what I'm actually basically saying is, gotta watch the lies you tell, about what you're doing in the workplace, because you never know if your buddy or your neighbor is gonna somehow, on dumb luck, be applying for jobs and working at the same place you're working, and he might start saying something witty, a little bit too, and embarrassing you and saying, but yeah, there was been a lot of stories that I heard that other people were talking about their relative or whatever that they don't see all the time, but the relatives think they're born yesterday and they're working this kind of job, and maybe they're living on credit, and they're saying they're something bigger than they are, and when they don't want to admit that they're just working this job, and they like it to be better, but why lie about it? And plus, some people don't just tell a small lie, they have a tendency to embellish and say even bigger lies. And if they didn't exaggerate that big, you might believe them, but there's some people that you sort of believe them a little bit, but what happens is some of these people be saying these, like, really, you'd believe them if it wasn't for the fact that they got a little bit too big and started telling bigger lies than they should be telling, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, if that was me, I wouldn't be making the lie that big, I'd be making it a little smaller. Or, like I says, if it's about the money you're making, you're getting raises, you can sort of say a little bit of lying about the money you're making if they find out you're pretty close there anyway. But a lot of us, we're all human, people that we don't see in a long time, or we used to go to school with, and we run into them after a bunch of years, and you're not going to see them again. A lot of us are going to get tempted to, say a little extra lies because we don't want to sound like that we were working this stupid job somewhere. Or none of us want to admit either that, say, we were working this one good job for a while, one of the best we ever had, and then time goes by, you get laid off, or the place closes up, or any kind of thing like that, and the job ends, and you don't want to admit later that you go from a job that maybe you were getting some raises and all that, and just being able to whip out money a little easier. You don't want to admit that you're going from that to maybe working slightly a suckier job. Maybe you gotta tighten up your belt as far as money is concerned, but the job might be a little bit of both. You might have some people you hate there, and then you might have some friends there at the same time, and you're like, well, it ain't that bad, I got some friends there. But especially if you went to a shittier job, you don't want to admit to your friends or relatives that you never seen in years that, oh yeah, I'm just working a slightly shittier job now, but it's, it depends on, it actually depends on you. Do you really want to tell lies that are too big, that are going to get found out, and say, what if that buddy or person that you haven't seen in a long time, you think you're never going to see him again, right? And it turns out, and he's just listening to you, and it turns out that he's applying for jobs, and he winds up right where you're working, you know what I mean? And then as soon as he winds up right where you're working, because he was looking for jobs and he got in over there, he just applied and got in, then he ends up finding out, you know, oh, you were doing some lying, so it's not like he has anything hateful against you or anything. And what'll happen is he'll start saying something real witty and all that in front of people and embarrassing you a little bit, you know, and stuff like that. So that's why it doesn't really pay to tell, you know, really big lies, you know. I mean, I don't tell anybody that big of lies, but from the observance of other people, I don't think I want to. It would be embarrassing, even as tempting as it is. But if you start something, you could do it unwittingly and maybe stretch the truth just a little bit, but then get tempted to, some people get tempted to say too much or whatever, you know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. You don't pay to be telling bigger lies than you need to be telling, because it just ain't good, you know? Because you just never know. Shit happens, you know. You can get caught in it. That person you're lying to can wind up right where you're at, and you don't count on it. Alright, that's it for this video.